Welcome to another episode of DeChamps Rants and Reviews. I'm Mark DeChamp Deschamps, and I'm here today to talk about one of my most anticipated movies of 2026, which is Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm a giant Spider-Man fan. I've been a Spider-Man fan for decades now. I'm really excited about this movie, and in particular, I want to talk about one of the cast members who's been announced for this movie, Sadie Sink. Now, there's been a lot of rumors since Sink was announced for this movie, and we don't know who she's playing, but one of the biggest rumors is that she is going to play May Mayday Parker, better known as Spider-Girl. Now, if you're not familiar with Spider-Girl, I'm going to take you through a brief history of the character and why I'm so excited about the possibility of her being in this movie. So, May Mayday Parker was introduced in What If number 105, one of the last issues of Marvel's What If ongoing series. Mayday, the whole concept of the character is that she inherited the powers of her father, Peter Parker. And long after he'd retired from being Spider Man, she took on the mantle and became Spider Girl. That one issue of What If was popular enough that it led to a series of ongoing comics, uh, a label of comics at Marvel called the MC2. So we saw several different MC2 comics, including Spider Girl, Avengers Next, J2, Wild Thing, and such. But Spider Girl was easily the most popular. Eventually, the line kind of ended altogether, but Spider Girl went on for a very long time, with the original series lasting for 100 issues. So, Mayday Parker, even though the book has long since ended, Mayday Parker has stuck around. She's been part of a lot of the Spider Verse crossovers. She continues to be, a recurring character and a beloved one for a lot of Spider-Man fans. Now, the reason that a lot of people have thought for a while that Sadie Sink might be playing Spider Girl, but that rumor kind of kicked into overdrive this week with a new report from Deadline that suggests that Sadie Sink will not only be appearing in Spider Man Brand New Day, but she will also be appearing in the Avengers Secret Wars movie. Now, one of the reasons that it would make sense for Spider Girl to be in that movie is that from everything we know, Secret Wars is going to heavily revolve around the multiverse. The MCU has been really leaning into the whole multiverse idea for the last few years. The frustration of some people, because some people think it's gotten a little overplayed. But Secret Wars is where everything is building to. The movie seems to be heavily based on the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars story from about 10 years ago, and that storyline heavily featured the multiverse colliding and different characters from different Marvel universes ending up in the 616 universe. So Old Man Logan, for example, ended up in the mainline Marvel universe for a few years. Miles Morales, him and his supporting cast came over from the Ultimate Universe and permanently ended up in the Marvel mainline universe, the 616. So a lot of people are expecting something similar to happen with Secret Wars. We know that the Fox X-Men are gonna play a major role in this, and having Sadie Sink's character, having Mayday, um, introduced in Brand New Day, and having that launch into Secret Wars makes a lot of sense, actually. So it would be a smart way to get, Spider-Man drawn into that, but we just don't know how it's going to play out. But there's so many things that we just don't know about Brand New Day, and that's one of the things that has me so intrigued, especially as a Spider-Man fan. The name isn't helping anything because Brand New Day was not like one particular Spider-Man story. It was used in the comics, but it was kind of as part of a revamp for Spider-Man. following the end of the controversial end of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson's marriage. Many Spider-Man fans still hate it, but it led into Brand New Day, which was basically this whole new storyline for Spider-Man, where he was back to being alone, and that's really where the movie is similar in that Tom Holland's take on Peter Parker also has no one anymore. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with this film. um, I'm not quite sure. I mean, no one's really sure. We know that Tombstone is going to play some kind of role, and Tombstone's a major villain from the Spider-Man comics, in particular the last few years. He's been a major antagonist, basically taking over for the Kingpin. And we also know that the Punisher is going to have a big role in this movie. Frank Castle, John Bernthal is going to be in this movie, and we also have Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. So it looks like it's a pretty packed movie. On top of all that, we have the Scorpion coming back. Michael Mando reprising the role that he had in Spider-Man: Homecoming. So no one really knows what to expect from this movie, but I feel like there's enough breadcrumbs, not only from what has been revealed, but just from what we've seen from the three MCU Spider-Man movies so far. It's a Looking at the cast, I think one of the biggest concerns is that it might end up being overstuffed. But I think that was a concern when Homecoming was first announced, because we had the Vulture as the main villain, but we also had the Shocker announced. We also had the Prowler announced. We had the Enforcers announced. And then when the movie came out, it actually was very much just a Vulture Spider-Man movie with, a bunch of different lackeys that did have familiar names attached to them. So I'm going to be really interested to see how the story plays out. I think that the crux of the film is going to be Spider-Man and the Punisher having to take down Tombstone, who will likely be a new mob boss that's filling the role of the Kingpin, who, as fans know, is now the mayor of New York City. So, there's a big void in the underground, and Lonnie Lincoln, Tombstone, is like the perfect character to have take on that role. So having the Punisher and Spider-Man teaming up in kind of a grounded gang war type story is a smart way to it's a smart direction for a Spider-Man movie. But the whole big X factor in all of this is Sadie Sink's character. Especially if she is playing Mayday. I think that there's some concern about overdoing the whole Spider-Verse angle. We just had a Spider-Man movie a few years ago that was really big on the whole Spider-Verse concept, right? Like, we had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back reprising their roles. So if we're kind of doing something like that again, I can see where that would be a concern, getting away from the whole friendly neighborhood thing. Um, but I think there's a way to thread the needle on this, especially if, like, we don't know, especially if Sadie Sink's character isn't, like, revealed to be from the MC2 until, like, the very end of the movie, or if she just doesn't play a big role until, like, the end. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. One of the things that I really hope ends up happening is that they combine the MC2 concept with the Tobey Maguire world, the Sam Raimi films, because obviously we saw the Tobey Maguire version of Peter come back in the most recent Spider-Man movie, and he didn't say anything about having a daughter, but there was an implication that he and MJ were still together. So it's very possible, given how many years have passed, that they do have a daughter that's out being Spider-Man. I think that's a really, really cool way to bring all this back, and to bring Toby back theoretically for Secret Wars. One thing that I've wondered ever since the third Spider-Man movie was the third MCU Spider-Man movie was if we were ever going to be able to see the Raimi verse again. It was so great to catch back up with Tobey Maguire's character. It's hard to overstate how big of a deal those first Spider-Man movies were when they released in the early 2000s. It was unlike anything that had ever been done with a superhero movie before. So getting a chance to see Toby again in the role was incredible to me. And I think that there's so much room to do either a fourth, Raimi Spider-Man movie, or to do a Spider-Girl movie that, continues on that. Because there's so many unanswered questions following that third Spider-Man movie. Theoretically, both the Green Goblin and Doctor Octopus are now alive again in that universe. The whole plot of that movie was Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man not wanting to send these villains back to their deaths. It really did seem like Doctor Strange's machinations and spells and stuff were able to keep them alive. So theoretically, the Raimiverse now has, you know, Norman Osborn and Otto Octavius alive again. I want to know how that plays out, and maybe that never gets touched on again, or maybe like so many other MCU things, it gets touched on again in 5 years or 10 years because the MCU loves to do things like that. But I just think there's so much opportunity there. The funny thing is, Mayday Parker, she actually had a Green Goblin as her partner in the MC2. However, it wasn't Norman Osborn. Um, it was Phil Urich. I think it would actually be really cool if we did see like her working with Norman. Like maybe Norman's back to normal. Maybe he's of sound mind. Funny enough, Norman Osborn in the current Amazing Spider-Man comics is a hero, or at least trying to be. He's trying to be a good guy. Um, so I think that there is like a really cool opportunity there if Sony and Marvel want to pursue it. So I mean, I'm just so fascinated by all this. I'm dying to know, you know, do we see Mayday Parker in the MCU? Do we see, this grounded Spider-Man movie that's a little on the grittier side, calling back to stories like, Pad's Sin Eater, um, storyline? Or does it end up becoming another Spider-Verse thing that people feel a little frustrated by? I don't know, but I'm so excited to see what 2027 brings. And if you're a big Spider-Man fan like me and you need something to help you kill some time until this movie comes out next year, I've got some recommendations for you. There's so many good comics. Regardless of whether or not Sadie Sink is playing Mayday Parker, you should definitely check out the original Spider-Girl run by Tom DeFalco with art by Pat Olive and Ron Frenz. The first 100 issues are just fantastic. It's such a cool story. It's really neat to see how Mayday is like her father and also not like her father and also like her mother. Um, she really is one of the most underrated Marvel comics characters of all time. So all of those issues, or a great majority of those issues, are on Marvel Unlimited. So if you want to dive in, that's like one of the perfect places to go. Another great storyline that I could recommend is the most recent Spider-Man Gang War story, which is all about Spider-Man fighting Tombstone and a lot of other people that are trying to fill the void um, in the New York City underworld. So theoretically, that could end up being part of the basis for this new movie. Definitely recommend reading that story. Tombstone's, ongoing battle with Spider-Man has been a really compelling part of Amazing Spider-Man over the last few years. There was an amazing issue where there was just a knockdown, drag out fight between the two of them, drawn by John Romita Jr. And if we get to see anything like that in Brand New Day, I'm gonna be ecstatic. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening. But if you're like me and you're super excited to find out what Brand New Day brings, let me know in the comments what you're hoping to see, what Spider-Man stories you'd like to see adapted. If you want to see an MC2 movie, a Spider-Girl movie, let me know what you think. And if you enjoy hearing me rant about things like that, think about subscribing to the Champs Rants and Reviews. It's a brand new channel. I'm really enjoying getting the chance to talk to you guys, both here and in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.